Hello, it is Friday. We have survived the week. I don't know about you, but this week felt both really long and really fast. It is already December 4th, which means that it is day 4 of the Advent tea year. So again, this is from the David's Advent tea calendar with loose leaf tea, day 4. And that means that today we have organic North African mint. So today's tea recommended temperature of the water is 85 degrees Celsius, and you're going to want to steep that between 3 to 4 minutes. So a little bit of a shorter steep time. I promise, I know I've said this every time so far, but I really am going to try to keep this one a little bit shorter, a little bit faster, because I have a little bit more restriction on that steep. So the ingredients in this one, this is a certified organic tea, hence its name. So all ingredients in this are organic. It is also kosher. This tea has green tea, ginger, peppermint, cardamom, licorice root, fennel, clove, and black pepper. So lots of ingredients in that. But interestingly, for a tea that is a mint tea, mint isn't even the first ingredient. It's the third in the list. So we have some conclusions that we can draw from this. 1, we can assume the mint is going to be pretty strong. And 2, we can assume that all the other ingredients in this tea are there to enhance the flavor and feel of the mint. Now, before I do open this and do my smell test on it, I want to give a little bit of a point of comparison for when I'm smelling mint. I am from Colorado, which means that Celestial Seasonings is basically in my backyard. And if you go on their tour, in non-pandemic times at least, they have a mint room. And in the mint room, you stand there and you smell all their types of mint that they use in their teas. They only keep their mint in that particular room because it is so potent that it can actually pollute all the other ingredients that they use, which is predominantly other herbs, because Celestial Seasonings only does a couple of actual true teas. Again, this is not a sponsored video by Celestial Seasoning or David's Tea. It's just for fun here. So when I go ahead and smell this, I am going to be ranking this on a scale of 1 to Celestial Seasonings Mint Room. That mint room is a potent experience. A lot of people can't stay in there very long because that cooling sensation that mint is known for producing can actually feel a bit like burning on that moist part of your eyeball. So really excited to see how this stacks up to that. I think I'll give it a solid 3 on that scale of 1 to Celestial Seasonings Mint Room. Obviously, it's not going to be anywhere near as powerful as an entire room where you are surrounded by mint. But it is actually a decent smell as far as that is concerned. So we're going to go ahead and pop over here and look at the ingredients a little bit more closely. I have spilled tea onto my floor. So it is green in here, predominantly green. So I'm not sure I'm going to even really be able to identify what all the pieces are, in part because I'm not super familiar with what they look like on their own. I do think these kind of yellowy seed pieces are either going to be cardamom or fennel. And so that brings me to talking a little bit about what ingredients you might expect me to talk about today. Since I've already talked a bit about mint, you might be expecting that this is going to predominantly focus on mint. And no, I have many other teas that actually do have mint as an ingredient. So I'm going to actually save my mint discussion for another time. Instead, I want to quickly talk about cardamom, fennel, and licorice root, not necessarily in that order. I thought about talking about black pepper, but I figure most people have some sort of experience with black pepper, whereas with the other ones, some people might not have really had much experience with them. So that meant it would be a better use of my time to talk about those 3. And once again, as I'm shaking the tea into my bag here, I am finding that I've got quite a bit of tea, so I can have multiple cups of this if I end up liking it. But I have my doubts on that one, and you'll see why as I start talking about these ingredients. So once again, I'm using that paper bag. I do actually have reusable muslin bags in the works. I just haven't finished them yet, probably for my video on the 7th. So on Monday, I should actually have those ready to go so that I can stop producing quite so much waste. All right, I'll set that aside over here. So let's talk about fennel to start with. And that is a flowering plant of the carrot family. So if you actually see fennel growing, you can see that it actually looks quite a bit like carrot because they're part of the same family. And it is native to the Mediterranean region, but it has been naturalized to all kinds of regions across the globe. So you can find fennel pretty much everywhere, including in dry regions. So that one you might actually be able to grow your own at home. Some species of fennel, like the Italian fennel, have a thick bulbous stem that you can actually cut up and use as a vegetable, and it's pretty common to find in soups because it's got a very aromatic quality to it, I guess, that adds to other flavors really nicely. From experience, fennel does taste a bit like black licorice, and so it's not my favorite ingredient or flavor because of that. I find that black licorice is basically what a chapstick flavor that the devil would use to kiss you with. So that should tell you everything you need to know about me and my opinions on black licorice and thus on fennel. Fennel is a little bit less powerful, however, than traditional black licorice. So, if black licorice is your jam, good for you. Fennel is actually also a primary ingredient in the alcohol absinthe, along with anise or star anise or anise, depending on how you pronounce it. And so you've got all of those flavors. So absinthe ends up tasting very strongly of licorice. Fennel's chlorophyll content, what makes plants green, is actually one of the contributing factors for why absinthe itself also looks like it came straight from your car. It looks like antifreeze. So, go ahead and enjoy your demon car liquid, you weirdos. Blah, blah, blah. Fennel is actually good for you, like a lot of herbs and spices and vegetables and things like that. It has a lot of vitamins and minerals. So it's going to have some kind of health benefit, just probably not when consumed in absinthe. Remember, absinthe was actually banned in the United States for a really long time, in part because many of the ingredients in absinthe, when you improperly process them, are toxic. So your demon car fluid doesn't even like you back. Think about that for a moment. Moving on here. Let's talk a little bit about that licorice root, since, I've already identified my feelings on black licorice. The black licorice root, or just the licorice root here, is actually also a flowering plant, and it's part of the bean family. So we're learning a lot about how our herbs are all related to vegetables. And in terms of the bean family here, it is actually a perennial legume. I just love that word, legume. It's kind of fun. And it is native to Western Asia and Southern Europe. Southern Europe, covers places like France, which popularized absinthe and that gross licorice fad among artists and writers in the 19th and 20th centuries, including, and I'm really not surprised by this, Hemingway. Freaking Hemingway. Hemingway is basically the black licorice of writers. There, I said it. I don't like Hemingway. I don't like black licorice. They can enjoy each other for all eternity, for all I care. Interestingly, even though licorice tastes like the devil, fennel, and anise or anise, it is actually not botanically related to either of those. So there are multiple plants on this earth that taste like ugh. It is, however, used to flavor not just candies and nasty alcohol, but also tobacco. And it has been used in herbalism and traditional medicine. But, and here's more vindication for why I don't like black licorice, excess consumption of licorice root can lead to adverse effects, such as hypokalemia, which is low potassium levels, increased blood pressure, muscle weakness, and even death. Why do people like licorice? It's out to kill you, or at least make you suffer, which its flavor is enough of an indication of. So then that makes me really question the Greeks who ultimately derived this name. And in the Greek, it means sweet root. I'm not sure that the Greeks know what sweet means. But of course, the Greeks also drink ouzo, which is also disgusting. So I guess there's not much to be said for taste. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add the water, which as usual, I have already boiled ahead of time and have been letting it cool while I yammer about you and rant today, at least, about how much I don't like licorice. Have my handy copper pot. If I had some warm woolen mittens, it'd be like, my favorite things, which for some reason has become a holiday song. I am using that bag because with as much of that loss of the tea leaves into my tea yesterday, once again, I'm not using my measuring cup, but with that loss of tea leaves, I just did not want to experience that again. I am, after all, not Professor Trelawney, so I'm not going to do any tea readings on that. So while that steeps, it's already turning a nice green color as you would expect from a green tea. But while that steeps, I'm going to go ahead and chat quickly about cardamom. Okay, just very quickly about it. And hopefully the cardamom flavor that's in this will actually recover that death flavor that's supposed to be in my mint tea. All right, so cardamom is actually a triangular little seed pod with a thin papery outer shell and small black seeds, which is actually what we use when we have that spice. And so it's often used in chais and other kinds of Indian cuisine. It's actually native to the Indian subcontinent and also to Indonesia, but it has been cultivated in Guatemala, Malaysia, and Tanzania. It was first introduced in Guatemala before World War I, and by the year 2000, the majority of cardamom globally comes from Guatemala, actually, not from India, although India is the second largest producer of cardamom. Cardamom has been used medicinally, though I'm not entirely sure for what purpose, but you can also smoke cardamom. So apparently a lot of the ingredients that we've got today you can enjoy in other ways too. As far as the flavor profile is concerned, cardamom kind of is smoky. I find it similar to cinnamon personally, but it's really not bitter. It's almost got a hint of sweetness, and there are many who actually will taste cardamom who find it cooling in the sensation that's kind of similar to mint, which would then explain its presence in today's tea. Notably, green cardamom, one of the two varieties, green and black, but green cardamom is one of the most expensive spices by weight. And that again gives us an insight into why tea has been prized and valued for so long across human history, because it sources some of the most incredible ingredients out there. Interestingly, though, if you're looking for other places green cardamom is used, it is also used in aromatic bitters and in gin. So if you don't like absinthe, you might like gin instead. At least I prefer gin to absinthe, but I'm still not a big fan of gin. So, take it or leave it. But I guess I have delayed long enough. That was about 3 minutes of rambling there. Yay. I don't know that I'm really ready for this, guys. If this tastes like licorice, I'm gonna complain because, that'd be unique for this particular video. Okay. So, yeah, it's kind of green over here. Oh, there we go. Getting a little bit more brownish color. I do predominantly smell mint as I am mixing this around and getting that out of here. Ooh, I can use my measuring cup to hold my tea bag. All right. Nice and clear, but again, kind of to be expected since I used a bag that would not let anything come through. But ultimately, that liquor is a lot less cloudy than yesterday's. It's really easy to see to the bottom of the cup and see that there is a stray hair from when I cleaned it earlier there. I love that for me. Nothing makes tea better than mysterious hairs and particulates that you find in your cup. Guys, I think I smell licorice in the actual tea now. Okay, mostly I taste green. Mostly I do taste green tea, and then it finishes with some of that more minty flavor. So that is at least a relief. I'm not tasting death. So I can actually drink this and not hate everything. But I think the grassiness actually of that green tea overpowers the mint. There's definitely a mint flavor to it, but the grassiness of that green tea and the other spices in it, I think actually mean that the mint is not the star. So I will drink this. I will even finish the rest of my little canister that I've got with the rest of that tea, and I will do so without complaining, really, I promise. But it is really just, the mint's not the star, and I think that if you're going to call something a mint tea, the mint needs to be a little more forward. It's not my least favorite thing, but I actually, I mean, in the world in general, but I do think it is my least favorite of my Advent teas so far. So thank you for indulging my seriously weird rant about licorice and minor bits about Ernest Hemingway. Perfect. But that is today, and I will see you tomorrow for yet another part of our Advent tea year.